Most people think fat burning is something that happens only when you're dieting hard, skipping meals, or grinding through long workouts. But one of the most powerful metabolic shifts actually happens at night, quietly, naturally, and without force. And when you support this nighttime window with the right nutrients, you can unlock a level of healing and fat loss that most traditional approaches never achieve. That is where the nighttime olive oil protocol becomes so uniquely effective. It works with your circadian rhythm, not against it, and enhances the very mechanisms your body already uses while you sleep. By giving your cells a clean, stable fuel source and reducing the hormonal noise that keeps the body stuck, you create an environment where fat burning switches on more efficiently. Inflammation drops and cellular repair accelerates in a way you can actually feel the next morning. Many people underestimate how much metabolic damage comes from late-night snacking, glucose spikes, and constant digestive work. But when you introduce a targeted, simple intervention before bed, you help the body transition into a deeper fasting state without stress. This approach is not about restriction, but about supporting your biology so it can finally do what it was designed to do during the night: restore, detoxify, and burn stored energy more effectively. When most people think about fasting, they imagine long hours without food, early morning hunger, and the discipline required to push through the day. But one of the most overlooked truths is that the body is already designed to enter a natural fasting rhythm every night. This is built into our biology. The moment you stop eating in the evening, insulin begins to fall, digestion slows down, and the body gradually shifts toward burning stored energy rather than constantly processing incoming food. However, for many people today, this natural transition is disrupted. Late-night snacking, sugar-rich foods, and high-carb dinners keep insulin elevated long into the night. As a result, instead of shifting into fat-burning mode, the body stays stuck in a fed state, preventing the metabolic reset that should happen while we sleep. This is where the nighttime olive oil protocol becomes so impactful. It gently nudges the body back into its intended hormonal pattern, helping you slide into a deeper, more stable fasting state without the stress or discomfort that often comes with abrupt calorie restriction. Olive oil works uniquely well in this context because it does not trigger a significant insulin response. Unlike carbohydrates or proteins, which stimulate insulin to varying degrees, healthy fat allows the body to enter a fasting-like state while still receiving a clean, steady source of energy. This is especially important at night, when the body prefers metabolic calm. A tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil before bed provides enough fuel to quiet hunger and stabilize blood sugar, all while keeping insulin low. Low insulin is the gateway to fat burning. When insulin drops, the body gains access to its stored fuel reserves, particularly the fat stored around the midsection. This is why some people notice that even a small tweak to their pre-bed routine can dramatically improve their morning weight, reduce bloating, and increase the sense of metabolic clarity they feel upon waking. Another key advantage of supporting the body with healthy fats at night is the reduction of metabolic swings. Many people experience blood sugar dips in the middle of the night, even if they had a full dinner. These dips can trigger cortisol spikes, shallow sleep, and nighttime awakenings. When cortisol rises, it blocks the ability to burn fat, increases inflammation, and disrupts the hormonal processes responsible for repair and detoxification. Olive oil helps flatten these swings by providing a sustained, slow-burning energy source. This not only keeps blood sugar stable, but also allows the body to maintain a calm hormonal environment throughout the night. A calm hormonal environment is essential for deep restorative sleep, which is one of the strongest natural regulators of appetite, metabolism, and fat storage. Supporting a more stable fasting state at night does more than enhance fat loss. It also improves metabolic flexibility, which is the body's ability to switch between burning glucose and burning fat. Many modern diets, especially those high in processed carbohydrates, make people metabolically rigid. They become dependent on constant glucose intake and struggle to burn fat efficiently. By introducing a simple pre-sleep olive oil routine, you help retrain the body to rely more on fat for fuel during the long, uninterrupted hours of night. Over time, this consistent practice can improve the efficiency of your mitochondria, the small powerhouses inside your cells responsible for generating energy. When mitochondria are healthier and more flexible, the entire metabolic system begins to function more smoothly. The nighttime olive oil protocol also offers psychological benefits that indirectly support fat burning. People who struggle with evening cravings or emotional eating often find that a small intentional ritual before bed helps break the cycle. Late night eating can become a habit driven more by routine than hunger, and replacing that routine with something metabolically supportive creates a powerful shift. Instead of reaching for sugary snacks, processed treats, or comfort foods that spike insulin and disrupt sleep, the mind learns to associate the end of the day with nourishment rather than stimulation. And because olive oil creates a sense of warmth and satiety, it becomes easier to respect the overnight fasting window without feeling deprived. There's also the element of digestive rest. Digestion is one of the most energy-consuming processes the body manages each day. When you overload the digestive system at night, especially with heavy or highly processed foods, you force the body to use precious nighttime hours for breakdown and processing rather than repair. This can slow metabolism, increase inflammation, and interfere with the body's ability to burn fat efficiently. By avoiding late-night meals and substituting them with a gentle insulin-friendly fat source, you allow the digestive system to relax. When digestion rests, the body can direct more resources toward cleansing, cell renewal, and fat mobilization, all of which happen most effectively when insulin is low and the system is quiet. Healthy fats play a far more significant role in nighttime metabolism than most people realize, especially when it comes to lowering insulin and supporting sustained fat burning through the night. Insulin is the master hormone governing fat storage, and even small elevations during the evening hours can block the body's ability to tap into its energy reserves. People often assume that as long as they stop eating after dinner, their insulin naturally drops and fat burning begins, but this is rarely the case in today's dietary environment. Late evening snacks, even something as simple as fruit or a cup of tea with sugar, keep insulin elevated long after digestion should have slowed. When insulin remains high into the night, the body is chemically locked out of its fat stores, forcing to rely on circulating glucose or stored glycogen for fuel. This not only delays fat burning, but also disrupts the hormonal harmony required for deep, restful sleep. Introducing a small amount of healthy fat, such as extra virgin olive oil, shifts this entire hormonal landscape in a favorable way. Fat has virtually no impact on insulin, allowing the body to transition more smoothly into a fasting-like state. Instead of triggering a metabolic spike, olive oil provides calm, steady nourishment. This is one of the reasons it works so well in the hours before sleep. When you consume it at night, you give the body a clean burning fuel that satisfies hunger, stabilizes blood sugar, and removes the urge to reach for carbohydrate-heavy snacks that would otherwise disrupt the fasting cycle. Because insulin remains low, the metabolic door to fat burning stays open, allowing the body to make full use of the long overnight window. A key part of this mechanism involves how olive oil interacts with hormones related to satiety. Many people experience evening hunger not because they need more calories, but because their blood sugar has fluctuated so much during the day that their hunger hormones are confused. After a day of insulin spikes from meals, snacks, drinks, and hidden sugars, the body becomes conditioned to expect glucose as its primary fuel source. When glucose drops even slightly, cravings appear. But healthy fats break this cycle. They provide energy without provoking insulin, and they activate receptors in the gut that send signals of fullness and stability to the brain. This helps quiet late-night cravings in a way that feels natural rather than forced. When these cravings disappear, the body can finally settle into the metabolic rhythm it was meant to follow. Reducing evening insulin also has a profound impact on inflammation, which is another reason why healthy fats support more efficient fat burning. Inflammation and insulin resistance feed each other in a vicious cycle. High insulin promotes fat storage and increases inflammatory pathways. Inflammation in turn makes the cells less sensitive to insulin, which raises insulin even more. Breaking this cycle at night is especially important because the overnight hours are when the body is most actively repairing damage, clearing toxins, and balancing hormones. Olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fats and polyphenol that have been shown to lower inflammatory markers, calm oxidative stress, and support cellular recovery. When the inflammatory load decreases, the body becomes far more responsive to hormonal cues, making it easier to burn fat and regulate appetite. Another overlooked benefit of lowering nighttime insulin is the effect it has on growth hormone. Growth hormone naturally peaks during the first few hours of deep sleep and is essential for fat metabolism, muscle maintenance, and tissue repair. But growth hormone and insulin do not work well together. When insulin is high, growth hormone is suppressed. By keeping insulin low before bed, healthy fats allow growth hormone to rise to its natural levels, amplifying the body's fat-burning potential. This hormonal synergy is one of the quiet advantages of the nighttime olive oil protocol. It supports the body's built-in systems rather than forcing an artificial calorie deficit. Lowering evening insulin also supports the liver's ability to mobilize stored fat. The liver plays a central role in managing blood sugar, detoxifying metabolic waste, and producing ketones, the fuel source the body uses during deeper fasting states. But when insulin remains high into the night, the liver becomes overloaded with processing incoming nutrients and managing glucose fluctuations. In that state, it cannot shift efficiently into fat-burning mode. Healthy fats help relieve this burden. They give the liver a break from glucose management and allow it to begin producing small amounts of ketones, even if the person is not following a strict low-carb diet. These ketones then provide a clean, stable energy source for the brain during sleep, improving cognitive clarity and morning focus. The emotional and psychological effects of lowering insulin at night should not be underestimated. High insulin, fluctuating blood sugar, and evening cravings create a sense of restlessness that can interfere with both sleep and long-term weight control. People often describe feeling wired but tired, a state driven by hormonal imbalance rather than true stress or anxiety. When healthy fats stabilize these internal rhythms, the mind becomes calmer, the urge to snack reduces, and the body enters sleep more peacefully. This emotional calmness is part of the metabolic transition that supports fat burning rather than sabotaging it, allowing the body to work continuously through the night toward healing, balance, and improved metabolic health. Inflammation is one of the most silent but powerful forces that shape a person's metabolic health, and nighttime is when the body is most primed to reduce it. When inflammation is elevated, the body shifts into a protective mode that slows metabolic processes, makes fat burning more difficult, and disrupts the cellular repair that should naturally occur during sleep. This becomes an even bigger issue when combined with late-night eating, processed foods, or insulin spikes that linger into the night. The body cannot simultaneously digest heavy meals, fight inflammation, and repair damaged cells efficiently. This is why many people wake up feeling bloated, heavy, stiff, or mentally foggy without realizing that the underlying problem started the night before. Olive oil plays a unique role in this nighttime healing window because it contains compounds that directly calm inflammatory pathways, allowing the body to direct more energy towards cellular repair instead of managing metabolic stress. One of the most valuable components of olive oil is its polyphenol. These natural antioxidants act like internal shields, reducing oxidative stress and lowering the inflammatory signals that interfere with normal metabolic function. When consumed at night, these polyphenols circulate during the hours when the body is most focused on cleaning up damaged cells, clearing toxins, and repairing tissues. Inflammation disrupts these processes by forcing the body to prioritize defense over repair. But when inflammation is reduced, the body can carry out cleanup and restoration more efficiently. This is why people who introduce healthy fats before sleep often report waking up feeling lighter, more rested, and mentally sharper. It is not the fat itself, but the reduction in inflammatory load that allows the body to perform its nighttime duties more effectively. Inflammation also affects insulin sensitivity, which is why calming inflammatory pathways at night improves fat burning. When cells are inflamed, they become resistant to insulin signals, causing the body to produce more insulin to compensate. Higher insulin blocks fat burning, promotes weight gain, and creates metabolic rigidity. By the time night arrives, many people are already in a state of mild inflammation from stress, processed meals, or constant snacking. Adding more food late at night further worsens this state. Olive oil interrupts this cycle by providing nourishment without provoking inflammation or insulin production. Instead of stimulating the body's stress responses, it delivers anti-inflammatory compounds that gently lower metabolic tension. As inflammation decreases, insulin sensitivity improves, allowing the body to shift into fat-burning mode more naturally during the night. Nighttime cellular repair depends heavily on autophagy, the process through which the body clears out damaged cells and replaces them with healthier ones. Inflammation slows autophagy while healthy fats support it by keeping insulin low and reducing oxidative stress. Autophagy is most active during periods of fasting, deep sleep, and low insulin levels. This is precisely why nighttime is such an important window for metabolic healing. When a person goes to bed with elevated blood sugar or inflammation, autophagy becomes impaired and cellular waste accumulates over time. This leads to fatigue, premature aging, weight gain, and metabolic dysfunction. By reducing inflammation with olive oil, the body can enter a deeper autophagic state, improving the quality of cellular cleanup that happens overnight. The impact of reduced inflammation is also felt in the mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside cells. Mitochondria are extremely sensitive to inflammatory stress. When inflamed, they become less efficient at burning fat and more prone to fatigue and dysfunction. Nighttime is when mitochondria undergo repair, rebuilding their internal structure, so they can begin the next day with greater efficiency. Olive oil supports this process by protecting mitochondria from oxidative stress and supplying monounsaturated fats that the body can use for clean, steady energy production. When mitochondria are healthier, the entire metabolism becomes more flexible and responsive. Inflammation has a strong influence on hormone balance as well, especially during the night. Hormones such as cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, and melatonin all interact with inflammation. High inflammation disrupts sleep hormones, leading to shallow sleep and nighttime awakenings. Poor sleep then increases inflammation even further, creating a loop that becomes difficult to break by calming inflammatory signals before bed. The body can maintain more stable hormonal rhythms throughout the night. This supports deeper sleep, which in turn improves weight control, appetite regulation, and morning energy levels. People often underestimate how much inflammation comes from digestive strain. Eating heavy or carbohydrate-rich meals at night forces the digestive system to work when it should be resting. An active digestive system increases inflammation, raises insulin, and pulls resources away from cellular repair. Olive oil helps because it is easy to digest, requires minimal metabolic effort, and does not burden the system with glucose or protein breakdown. Instead of forcing the digestive tract into overtime, it allows the system to relax. A relaxed digestive system means lower inflammation, more efficient detoxification, and improved hormonal balance during the night. Reducing inflammation also supports the liver, which is one of the body's main detoxification organs. The liver works hardest at night, processing toxins, metabolizing fats, and managing blood sugar. Inflammation slows these processes, making it harder for the liver to do its job. The polyphenol and monounsaturated fats in olive oil help protect the liver from oxidative stress and reduce the workload caused by late-night metabolic spikes. This contributes to a more effective overnight detox cycle, which is why people often feel clearer, lighter, and more energized in the morning after consistently following a low-inflammatory nighttime routine. Late-night glucose control plays a far greater role in morning energy and appetite than most people realize. Many individuals wake up tired, craving sugar, or feeling unusually hungry, and they assume this is normal or simply a sign that they need more food. But in most cases, these symptoms are driven by unstable blood sugar patterns that began the night before. When blood glucose rises too high in the evening, often due to carb-heavy dinners, late-night snacks, or sweetened drinks, the body must produce a large amount of insulin to manage the excess. This insulin surge does not simply resolve after a few hours. It influences metabolism for the entire night. The result is a cycle of elevated insulin followed by a steep drop in blood sugar, which can trigger cortisol spikes, sleep disturbances, and nighttime hunger signals that spill over into the next morning. When the body experiences a sudden drop in glucose during the night, it interprets this drop as a stress signal. This leads to the release of counter-regulatory hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are designed to raise blood sugar quickly, but in the process, they disrupt sleep, increase heart rate, and stimulate appetite pathways. This is why some people wake up in the middle of the night, feeling restless or anxious without understanding why. Even if they stay asleep, these hormonal shifts reduce sleep quality, preventing the deep restorative cycles that help control appetite and improve energy levels. Poor sleep alone can increase hunger hormones and reduce insulin sensitivity, which makes overeating the next day far more likely. Olive oil helps stabilize nighttime glucose in a way that aligns with the body's natural rhythms. Because healthy fats have a minimal impact on blood sugar and insulin, they create a calm metabolic environment before sleep. A small amount of olive oil can blunt the glucose fluctuations that occur after dinner, especially when meals contain carbohydrates. This is because fats slow gastric emptying, allowing glucose to enter the bloodstream more gradually and reducing the need for large insulin spikes. When insulin remains stable, blood sugar does not crash during the night, which prevents the activation of stress hormones. This stabilization allows the body to remain in a parasympathetic restorative state rather than a stress glucose-seeking mode. The impact on appetite the next morning is one of the most immediately noticeable benefits. People who struggle with morning cravings often assume they have a strong appetite or a fast metabolism, but more often the issue is that their blood sugar has been unstable during sleep. When nighttime glucose is balanced, the body does not wake up in a deficit. Hunger is calmer, more predictable, and easier to manage. Instead of waking up ravenous and craving quick energy foods like bread, pastries, or sugary drinks, the individual wakes up feeling more in control. This makes it easier to start the day with healthier choices or to naturally extend the fasting window if they choose to. Morning energy also improves because the brain relies heavily on stable blood sugar or ketones during the early hours of the day. When glucose is stable overnight, the brain awakens with consistent fuel availability, which improves mental clarity, mood, and cognitive performance. Late-night glucose control also has a significant influence on weight regulation. When insulin remains elevated during sleep, the body stays in storage mode. It cannot tap into fat stores efficiently even during the long fasting window overnight. This slows fat burning and contributes to weight gain over time. However, when insulin drops steadily through the night, because glucose is stable, the body gains access to stored fat. The overnight period becomes a natural fat-burning window instead of a missed metabolic opportunity. This is why focusing on nighttime glucose control can often produce faster results than simply changing breakfast or lunch habits. The hours during sleep represent one of the longest uninterrupted fast the body experiences each day, and supporting this window can dramatically enhance metabolic outcomes. Glucose stability also affects liver function overnight. The liver is responsible for maintaining blood sugar during fasting by releasing stored glucose when needed. But when glucose crashes due to insulin imbalances, the liver has to work aggressively to correct the imbalance. This can disrupt its ability to perform detoxification, fat processing, and hormone regulation. When olive oil helps stabilize blood sugar, the liver can perform its nighttime tasks more efficiently. This supports overall metabolic health and contributes to waking up with clearer cognition and less morning sluggishness. Another important element is the effect of nighttime glucose on hormonal communication between the gut and the brain. Hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which regulate appetite and satiety, are highly influenced by insulin and blood sugar. When glucose is unstable at night, leptin signaling becomes impaired, which increases hunger and cravings the next day. Ghrelin, the hormone that stimulates appetite, rises when blood sugar is unstable, making the individual feel hungrier than they actually are. By maintaining stable glucose with healthy fats, these hormones stay in better alignment. The body can send accurate fullness signals. Morning cravings decrease and daily calorie intake naturally becomes easier to regulate. Because of these interconnected processes, controlling nighttime glucose becomes one of the foundational strategies for improving fat burning, stabilizing appetite, enhancing sleep quality, and creating sustained morning energy without relying on stimulants or large breakfasts. Mitochondria are at the center of every metabolic process in the human body, and the way they function during sleep has a direct impact on how efficiently fat is burned throughout the day. These tiny structures act like cellular engines, converting fuel into usable energy. When mitochondria are healthy and functioning well, the body becomes naturally more capable of using stored fat as its primary energy source, particularly during the fasting hours of the night. However, when mitochondria are overloaded, damaged, or weakened from inflammation, high insulin, or poor dietary choices, their efficiency declines. This leads to sluggish metabolism, increased fatigue, difficulty losing weight, and reduced metabolic flexibility. Supporting Mitochondria during the nighttime window is one of the most effective ways to improve fat burning, and monounsaturated fats found in olive oil offer unique advantage in this area. During sleep, the body enters a period of deep cellular repair, and mitochondria take advantage of this downtime to restore their internal structures. They clear out damaged proteins, repair their membranes, rebalance energy pathways, and prepare for the next day's energy demands. But this restorative work can only happen under calm metabolic conditions. If the body is processing heavy meals or dealing with fluctuating blood sugar levels, the mitochondria cannot enter the state of repair efficiently. The presence of extra virgin olive oil before bed helps create a peaceful metabolic environment by providing a steady, low-insulin fuel source that doesn't interfere with mitochondrial function. It allows the mitochondria to use that fuel cleanly without the oxidative stress caused by sugar spikes or late-night snacking. Monounsaturated fats support mitochondrial efficiency in a way that is fundamentally different from carbohydrates. Carbs require insulin to process and can lead to the production of reactive oxygen species when consumed excessively, especially at night. These reactive molecules damage mitochondrial membranes and slow their ability to process energy. Olive oil, on the other hand, burns cleanly. It delivers energy without demanding insulin and without producing the same level of oxidative stress. This kind of fuel allows mitochondria to function smoothly and maintain stability throughout the night. As a result, the mitochondria do not have to redirect their focus toward managing metabolic chaos. They can perform the deeper repairs necessary for long-term metabolic health. Another important benefit of monounsaturated fats is their ability to support the formation and maintenance of mitochondrial membranes. Mitochondria rely on healthy fats to maintain the integrity and fluidity of their outer and inner membranes. These membranes are essential for the exchange of nutrients, energy production, and the removal of waste. Damage to mitochondrial membranes is one of the earliest signs of metabolic dysfunction, and improving the quality of fats consumed, especially before sleep, can directly strengthen these structures. Olive oil contains exactly the type of fat mitochondria required to stay resilient and flexible, allowing them to generate ADP, the body's energy currency, more efficiently. The polyphenol found in olive oil further enhance mitochondrial health by acting as antioxidants. They reduce oxidative damage, protect mitochondrial DNA, and help maintain the enzymes that regulate energy production. During the nighttime window, when oxidative stress tends to accumulate due to the body processing toxins and repairing damaged tissues, these polyphenols offer an additional layer of support. They reduce inflammation that could otherwise impair mitochondrial respiration. With less inflammation, mitochondria can function more efficiently, burning fat rather than relying on glucose or storing excess energy as fat. Mitochondrial efficiency plays a central role in determining how easily the body transitions into fat-burning mode. When mitochondria are healthy, they switch into fat oxidation more quickly, especially during fasting periods such as nighttime. This flexibility allows the body to tap into stored fat with greater ease. However, when mitochondria are damaged, the body becomes metabolically rigid and dependent on glucose. People often experience this as constant hunger, cravings, or fatigue during fasting periods. Olive oil helps reverse this rigidity by strengthening mitochondrial pathways and stabilizing energy production. Over time, this leads to more stable energy levels, reduced cravings, and an overall improvement in metabolic flexibility. Nighttime is one of the most important periods for improving fat oxidation. During the long hours without food, insulin naturally drops, allowing the body to access fat reserves. But this process depends heavily on mitochondrial readiness. If mitochondria are stressed, the body cannot effectively use fat for energy. Instead, it may break down muscle tissue or rely on glucose reserves, which destabilizes metabolism. By consuming olive oil before bed, you support mitochondrial health, stabilize blood sugar, and create a metabolic environment where fat oxidation becomes a default fuel source during sleep. This leads to noticeable improvements, such as waking up with more energy, feeling lighter, and experiencing fewer morning cravings. Improved mitochondrial function also enhances daytime metabolism. When the mitochondria complete their repair cycle during sleep, they start the next day in a more efficient state. This results in better energy production, improved fat burning throughout the day, and reduce likelihood of energy crashes that drive unhealthy eating patterns. In this way, supporting mitochondrial efficiency at night creates a cascading effect that influences every aspect of metabolic health, from appetite control to energy stability to long-term fat loss. Autophagy is one of the body's most powerful internal repair systems, and it becomes especially active during nighttime fasting. It is a process through which the body identifies damaged cells, dysfunctional proteins, and accumulated waste, then breaks them down and recycles their components. This process is essential for metabolic health, longevity, immune strength, and efficient fat burning. However, autophagy is highly sensitive to insulin, glucose, inflammation, and continuous eating. When insulin is high or food is constantly entering the body, autophagy is suppressed. This is why nighttime provides one of the most valuable opportunities for deep cellular cleanup. By supporting the body with the right nutrients, especially polyphenol-rich olive oil, you enhance the conditions required for autophagy to function more effectively during sleep. Olive oil contains specific polyphenol that activate pathways involved in cellular repair. These compounds help signal the body to shift from growth mode into maintenance mode, which is where autophagy becomes most active. Growth mode, driven by insulin and nutrient abundance, prevents the body from efficiently clearing damaged components. But when insulin declines at night, and when cells are not overloaded with sugar or protein, the body switches into a state of renewal. Olive oil supports this transition because it provides energy without activating insulin, and because its polyphenol directly stimulate autophagic activity. This makes it easier for the body to begin clearing out dysfunctional mitochondria, misfolded proteins, and toxic cellular debris that would otherwise continue to accumulate. Autophagy also improves metabolic flexibility, making it easier for the body to use fat as fuel. When cells are cluttered with damaged components, they become inefficient and resistant to insulin. This leads to sluggish metabolism, difficulty losing weight, and persistent cravings. By enhancing autophagy, you help clear out the blockages that prevent cells from responding normally to hormonal signals. This improves insulin sensitivity and makes it easier for the body to mobilize stored fat. People often notice that once their nighttime routine begins supporting autophagy, they wake up with less bloating, more mental clarity, and a smoother appetite rhythm. This is because their cells begin functioning more optimally, allowing metabolism to regulate itself more efficiently. Another key benefit of enhanced autophagy is a reduction of inflammation. Damaged cells and dysfunctional proteins trigger inflammatory responses as the body attempts to manage the imbalance. Over time, this chronic inflammation not only slows metabolism, but also contributes to aging, hormonal imbalances, and poor sleep quality. Autophagy helps prevent this cascade by removing the underlying sources of inflammation. Olive oil's polyphenol further accelerate this process by reducing oxidative stress and protecting healthy cells from damage. This creates an internal environment where autophagy can operate more effectively, allowing the body to repair itself more completely during the night. Autophagy is also essential for maintaining mitochondrial health. Mitochondria produce energy, but they are constantly exposed to stress and oxidative damage. When mitochondria become dysfunctional, they can no longer efficiently burn fat, and they generate an excess of reactive oxygen species that further damage the cell. Autophagy helps remove these damaged mitochondria through a process known as mitophagy. By clearing out weak or inefficient mitochondria, the body makes room for newer, stronger ones to take their place. Olive oil supports this process by lowering oxidative stress and improving mitochondrial membrane stability. This creates conditions where mitophagy can proceed more smoothly, resulting in more efficient energy production and improved fat oxidation. Nighttime is the most effective period for autophagy because the body is not burdened by digestion. If a person eats late at night, especially carbohydrate-rich or protein-heavy meals, the digestive system continues working when it should be resting. This keeps insulin high and prevents autophagy from activating. Olive oil helps break this pattern by providing nourishment that does not interfere with fasting physiology. It reduces the urge to snack, stabilizes blood sugar, and prevents nighttime hunger signals that lead to late-night eating. By replacing late-night snacking with a small amount of olive oil, the body is allowed to settle into a deeper fasting state that promotes autophagy. Autophagy also plays a role in regulating hunger hormones. Ghrelin, which stimulates appetite, and leptin, which signals fullness, are influenced by inflammation and cellular stress. When autophagy is functioning well, hunger hormones become more balanced, reducing cravings and making it easier to control food intake. People who support autophagy at night often find that their morning appetite becomes calmer and more predictable, allowing them to maintain a consistent eating window or to naturally fast for longer periods without discomfort. The benefits of enhanced autophagy extend beyond metabolism. It also supports immune function, brain health, and overall cellular longevity. During sleep, autophagy helps clear out toxins and waste products from the brain, a process that supports sharper memory, improved focus, and better emotional regulation. Olive oil's polyphenol assists this process by reducing oxidative stress in neural tissue. When the brain undergoes effective cleanup during the night, people often notice improved morning focus, reduced mental fog, and more stable energy throughout the day. By supporting autophagy through nighttime olive oil intake, you enhance the body's ability to repair itself at the deepest levels, improving metabolic health, reducing inflammation, stabilizing hormones, strengthening mitochondria, and promoting smoother fat burning throughout the night and into the next day. The connection between better sleep quality and hormonal balance is often underestimated. Yet, it plays one of the most central roles in metabolic health, weight loss, and long-term healing. When the body enters sleep, it doesn't simply switch off. It begins one of the most metabolically active phases of the entire day. Nighttime is when hormones recalibrate, tissues repair, inflammation drops, and the metabolic system resets for the next 24-hour cycle. When sleep is disrupted, shallow, or inconsistent, these hormonal processes become impaired, and the result is a cascade of metabolic dysfunction that people often attribute to diet or exercise alone. Introducing a small amount of healthy fat like olive oil before bed can help stabilize some of these nighttime processes by influencing insulin, cortisol, ghrelin, leptin, and growth hormone in ways that support deeper rest and smoother metabolic signaling. Olive oil contains monounsaturated fats that metabolize slowly, and this slow digestion creates a gentle, stable source of energy that prevents the nighttime glucose dips that often trigger cortisol spikes. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and when it rises at night, it disrupts sleep cycles, increases glucose production from the liver, and sets people up for morning cravings and elevated hunger. A stabilized nighttime insulin pattern prevents this cortisol surge and helps keep the body in a calm parasympathetic state, where sleep becomes more restorative. Many people who struggle with nighttime anxiety, racing thoughts, or waking up suddenly around 2 or 3 a.m. are unknowingly experiencing these hormonal imbalances, and they often respond well to a protocol that supports stable blood sugar before sleep. Better sleep begins with the body's ability to lower insulin and enter natural fat burning. When insulin is too high at night, the brain misreads the metabolic environment as fed rather than fasting, and this confuses the circadian rhythm that distinguishes day from night. With lower insulin, the brain recognizes that nighttime fasting has begun, which allows melatonin to rise appropriately. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It plays a major role in mitochondrial function and antioxidant protection throughout the body. When melatonin levels stay suppressed because of metabolic instability, people experience lighter sleep, more nighttime awakenings, and weaker overnight cellular repair. Olive oil supports this hormonal transition by preventing insulin spikes from late-night carbohydrate cravings or stress eating, and guiding the body into a smoother overnight fasting state that synchronizes with melatonin production. Another essential hormone influenced by nighttime metabolic stability is growth hormone. Growth hormone surges during the first half of sleep, particularly during deep, slow-wave sleep. This hormone is responsible for fat burning, muscle recovery, tissue repair, and even supporting glucose regulation the next day. However, growth hormone secretion is highly sensitive to insulin levels. Even moderate insulin elevation can block its release. This is why people with insulin resistance often struggle with poor recovery, muscle loss, or stubborn abdominal fat. By lowering insulin before bed and maintaining that stability, olive oil creates a hormonal environment where growth hormone can rise naturally, leading to more effective overnight repair and improved metabolic flexibility. Sleep quality is also tied to hunger hormones like ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is a hormone that signals hunger, and leptin is a hormone that signals fullness. Poor sleep suppresses leptin and increases ghrelin, which is why people who sleep poorly often experience intense cravings the next day. Stabilizing nighttime glucose with a small dose of healthy fat helps regulate ghrelin, so that the brain receives accurate hunger signals throughout the night. This reduces nighttime snacking impulses and helps restore the normal leptin rhythm that tells the body it has enough energy, reducing morning overeating and improving appetite control. Over time, consistent sleep and stable hormones create a metabolic rhythm where the body naturally oscillates between feeding and fasting states without stress or resistance. Olive oil also contains polyphenol that influence oxidative stress and inflammation itself is a major disruptor of sleep. When inflammation levels remain high, the brain has difficulty entering deep stages of sleep, and the body stays locked in a lighter, more reactive sleep cycle. Lowering inflammation through diet supports a calmer nervous system, which directly improves the consistency and depth of sleep. With deeper sleep comes improved hormonal alignment, faster tissue healing, more efficient fat metabolism, and a calmer appetite the following day. This synergy between sleep, inflammation, metabolism, and hormonal regulation becomes one of the most overlooked components in long-term weight control and fasting success. The goal of the nighttime olive oil protocol is not merely to add calories before bed, but to create a physiological environment that supports the body's natural hormonal rhythm during the hours when healing and fat burning peak, allowing the metabolic system to operate the way it was designed to operate. A simple pre-bed ritual can have a profound effect on long-term metabolic flexibility because it signals to the body that the day is ending and the healing phase is beginning. Most people underestimate how much the body relies on cues and rhythms to regulate hormones, digestion, and metabolism. Just as morning rituals set the tone for alertness and energy, nighttime rituals set the tone for recovery, fat burning, and cellular repair. When you introduce a small intentional action, like taking a measured amount of olive oil before bed, it anchors the body into a predictable pattern. Over time, the body learns to anticipate this pattern. And with that anticipation comes a smoother shift into a low-insulin fat-burning state that supports overnight healing. This consistent cue becomes a metabolic switch that gradually strengthens the body's ability to transition between feeding and fasting modes with ease. Most of the metabolic dysfunction people experience today is rooted not only in what they eat, but also in a lack of structure around eating and resting. Eating randomly throughout the day, snacking late at night, or go to bed in a stressed or inflamed state disrupts the natural circadian rhythm that metabolic hormones depend on. A nightly olive oil ritual creates a natural stop signal, helping people break the cycle of evening grazing and sending a message to the brain that the digestive system can now slow down. This reduces a chance of last-minute insulin spikes that interfere with sleep and block overnight fat burning. Over time, the body becomes trained to associate nighttime with rest, repair, and metabolic reset. The ritual also supports the emotional and psychological side of metabolism. One of the biggest challenges people face is nighttime stress eating, which often has very little to do with hunger and everything to do with overstimulation, fatigue, and cortisol buildup from the day. When cortisol rises in the evening, it not only increases hunger signals, but also interferes with insulin and prevents the body from fully entering a fasting state. A calm, structured ritual helps interrupt this stress-driven loop. It creates a moment of intention and signals the nervous system to downshift. The act of taking olive oil becomes a grounding cue that breaks the automatic pattern of searching for snacks, helping people feel more in control and less reactive. On a physiological level, the fats in olive oil slow digestion in a way that helps stabilize nighttime blood sugar without stimulating insulin excessively. This stable metabolic state supports hormonal balance and teaches the body to rely more on stored fat for energy during sleep. As this becomes consistent, metabolic flexibility improves. Metabolic flexibility is the body's ability to shift between burning glucose and burning fat, depending on the situation. When this ability is compromised, people feel sluggish, dependent on frequent meals and prone to cravings. By creating a calm, predictable signal that encourages the body to lower insulin and rely on fat oxidation, the nighttime ritual becomes a daily training exercise for metabolism, strengthening its adaptability over time. The benefits extend into the next morning as well. when the body finishes the night in a stable metabolic pattern. People wake up with more balanced hunger cues, clearer thinking, and a reduced desire for sugary or high-carbohydrate foods. This morning stability makes it easier to stay on track with fasting, nutrient-dense eating, or any weight loss program. The ritual essentially gives people a head start on the next day's metabolic choices. Instead of waking up already behind, already inflamed, or already craving, the body wakes up aligned, rested, and hormonally balanced. Over weeks and months, this nighttime ritual sets a foundation for long-term metabolic health because it repeatedly reinforces the same low-insulin, high-fat burning pattern. There is also a behavioral reinforcement element that strengthens the effectiveness of the ritual. When people choose to perform a small, meaningful action at night, it creates a sense of progress. This feeling of progress reduces late-night decision fatigue, which is one of the main reasons people fall off their routines. Willpower is often lower at night, so having a simple, non-negotiable ritual helps bypass the need for multiple decisions, making the process sustainable. And because a ritual is quick, easy, and requires no complex steps, it is less likely to be abandoned. Over time, this consistency compounds. A tiny action repeated hundreds of times becomes a powerful pattern that reshapes both behavior and biology. Many people try to improve their metabolic health with intense workouts, complicated diets, or large lifestyle changes, but they overlook the power of a small, repeatable ritual that aligns with the body's natural circadian rhythm. The nighttime olive oil protocol works because it's simple enough to do every night and powerful enough to influence multiple metabolic pathways. It supports hormonal transitions, reduces cravings, calms the nervous system, reinforces fasting habits, and teaches metabolism to shift smoothly into fat-burning mode. When these benefits accumulate day after day, they form a foundation that supports long-term metabolic flexibility and helps the body operate with greater consistency and resilience.